So we're going to show you a live demo, show what it looks like to really achieve LAN performance even at WAN scale. What does it look like if I just drag and drop a 5 GB file from one site to another? We can see in a very objective way that we can get LAN performance using the Vcinity model to work with our data. So to show you a little bit more about what's driving this demo, we have our two sites are AWS West and our data center on the east coast of the US. So we have a direct connect connecting to our wave, dropping into the data center. You'll see two computers on my screen in just a moment. One has a gray wallpaper. It's Windows 10 VM and AWS. It's called the traditional method is what the wallpaper says, and it's just a mapped network drive across the network to a share in our data center on the East Coast. Nothing revolutionary. The second computer has a kind of a brightly colored wallpaper, and it also has a mapped network drive across the country to the same share on the East Coast. The only difference is we're using the Vcinity nodes as mount points to that remote data. We'll get more into that in just a bit, but just know that that's the only difference. All the plumbing is the same. The local area network's the wide area network. Now we do have our Vcinity tunnel configured at 1 gigabit per second for this demo, and the latency, as you see, is roughly 60 milliseconds round trip. So let me bring up those screens. We'll get into the demo. All right, so here's our two computers. Again, the traditional method, just for a simple drawing, compute in the west, data in the east, direct mapping. Vcinity method, still compute in the west, still data in the east. We're now using our Vcinity node as an access to that remote data set. So what we're going to do first, as I mentioned, is just drag and drop a 5 GB file across the country and see what happens. So we'll drag this 5 gig file to our desktop from that remote mount, and we'll see about 6 megabytes a second. So that is about 48 megabits per second, or about 5% of our network tunnel. Not great, but it's basically what we're used to when we're working with data at a distance. Now if we do the same thing with the same file across all the same distance, but now using the Vcinity system as a gateway to the remote data, we'll see speeds that are our local area network speeds, but we're getting that data across the WAN at LAN rates. So we're kind of leveled off at 110 megabytes a second, which is 880 megabits per second, or close to 90% of our network. This is, if we were moving data between computers or servers on site, this is the type of performance we'd see.